Personnel is policy, you know that, and I know that. And in fact, that is something, if you've watched the show for any length of time, that we lamented about Trump's first 4 years. His personnel decisions were an unmitigated disaster, and it kneecapped his agenda a lot. Now, this new Trump has been killing it, absolutely killing it. It looks like he's taking this much more seriously, knows what he's doing now. You know I'd criticize it if I didn't like it. I'm over the moon about most of these. Now, one I'm not sure about, I'm not criticizing it because I don't know yet. What I'm not sure about is Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon, business mogul, Vince McMahon's ex-wife, tapped to take over the DOE, the Department of Education. Now, I was told repeatedly that we're going to eliminate the Department of Education. Is she going to do that? I don't know. I tell you what, let's find out. Let's ask Richard about it. Joining me now, Richard Corcoran. He is an author of the book Storming the Ivory Tower, former Florida Education Commissioner. The man kind of knows what he's talking about. Okay, Richard, what do you make of this? Feel free to blast away or sing its praises. I don't know what to think. What do you think?
I get what you're saying. I would just say this. I think everyone that he's chosen so far, I would put them in the category of amazing disruptor. I know so many of them because the Florida connection, his deputy chiefs of staff, his chief of staff, these are disruptive, very ideologically understand where they stand, what they believe. And I think he's putting those people in those key positions because he's, to your point, he learned his lesson from the first term. I think the selections are good. And I do think he's going to gut the Department of Education. I think he blows it up. I personally, in chapter 9 of the book, I give here's all the things that we did. And one of them is blow up the Department of Education, gut the Department of Education, send in a SEAL team, send in the Vivics and the Elons, but use it, and I think he will, as an amazing hammer to bring the Newsoms and the Hokels and all these people who are doing the indoctrination and killing school choice and disempowering parents, bring them to their knees. That's what we did in Florida. That was our Florida model, and I think he's going to do just that.
Okay, expand on that a lot, because I know you are well familiar with the Florida model, but the other 49 states have no idea what you're talking about. What did you do?
Yeah, so here's what first of all, I think who's the enemy of the state? Who's, in my experience, what's the greatest enemy to a wonderful world-class education for kids, whether it's K through 12 or universities? I mean, the union bosses are awful. Now, where do they dominate? They dominate at the local level without question, then the state level, and with a Donald Trump presidency, they're not going to have any say at the federal level. And so I give examples of my book. We had, and this is in Florida, which is the #1 education state, the freedom state, back years ago. These local governments, I talk about the Little Johns. Their child was being transgendered in middle school. They were calling her different names. They were allowing her to choose whether she wanted to stay in the boys' room or the girls' room on overnight trips, and the parents were never informed. The Perez's, their child tried to commit suicide, and they were never informed. This is the union at its full force at the local level. What you need to do is take the federal money, that hammer, billions and billions of dollars, and say, all of this ends or you're not getting the money. And the Florida model was just that. How did we open up schools during COVID? How did we tell them stop force masking kids? How did we get rid of the indoctrination? How did we modify the textbooks? We did all of that more than any other reason with the power of the purse. And just like the nation, we have liberal counties. There's liberal states, liberal governors. We have liberal counties. We have our Miami-Dades and Browards and Palm Beaches. All of them, they fight like crazy. I mean, make no mistake about it, but we brought them all to their knees, and that's what you have to do. It is the fastest way to get a return on investment for what needs to happen quicker than anything else in education in the nation, in my opinion. And it's the greatest threat to our country. It's not the Russians. It's not the Chinese. It's not jihadists. It is our education system has been under this filthy indoctrination that it got so heightened in the last 20 years, but was going on for 50 years. And it needs to be stopped, and swiftly and quickly, for the sake of the country.
No, you're 100% right. It's a national security risk. Okay, it's one thing to do it, and don't get me wrong, I'm extremely impressed and I applaud you for it. It's one thing to do it, though, in a state of Florida where they have people like you, DeSantis, a pretty squared away legislature. That doesn't necessarily translate nationally, though, which is a whole different other kind of bear. What can we do? How much can we model the Florida model nationally? Can we do it exact, or we're going to have to make some compromises?
I think you can do it as well as Florida, and even better, because it's a ton more money. And I'm agreeing with you, Jesse. I'm saying I have zero expectations. You want to send that money to Hochul or Newsom or local school boards? They already do it. The federal government sends all kinds of billions of dollars down to help start up charter schools, but the union bosses hate them. So they go to the states and they go to the locals and they harass you. You put in a perfectly good application to have a great charter school and a choice for parents, and they say, "I'm sorry, you didn't send it in triplicate. We're denying you for an entire year." They don't say, "Hey, just send us 2 more forms." They deny you outright for the whole year. That's what they do at the state and local levels that aren't Florida. So you cannot empower them. You cannot give a Hochul or a Newsom or any of these folks more power to harass parents, take away their rights, indoctrinate the kids. But at the federal government, you can break them. There's no way Governor Newsom can survive for 30 days with the withholding of tens of billions of dollars because he's engaged in what the entire the entire country voted on in November, things that nobody agrees with. Bill Maher, Bill Ackman, even liberals are saying, stop. This is an indoctrination that's jeopardizing the country. And the fastest way to execute the end of it is through using that department as an absolute hammer with the right leadership and under President Trump.
Richard, what do we do about the textbook companies? Obviously, you're much more well-versed on this than I do. I only know a little bit, but you have these companies like Scholastic and others. And there really is, I mean, you have to go through your kid's textbook with a fine-tooth comb because there's more commie crap in those textbooks now than I can possibly imagine. How do we attack that bear?
Yeah, so again, it's literally the same, and we did that at the state level. We denied 40% of the math textbooks when we rewrote the standards, and I think that there should be a nationwide look at writing a curriculum standards in math and ELA, the things that matter most. Look at on the national PISA scores, we're embarrassing low. We're the richest country in the world. We spend more money per pupil than any other country, and the only thing we do well on, not ironically, it's obvious, is they say, oh, we have the prettiest buildings, has nothing to do with great education, and we have the most like technologically advanced stuff, has nothing to do with education. What matters is what are those kids being taught and who are the teachers? Go after the textbook companies, and again, you do it with the states. That's what we did. You're ineligible to have a textbook county because the counties actually choose. You cannot choose from these publishers until they fix their books. The federal government can do the same thing. You cannot get these federal dollars and you cannot choose these textbooks unless these things are these indoctrination things aren't in there. You can do it with accreditors. You can't use this accreditor until they get rid of their DEI, get rid of their gender ideology, all of it. And you watch how fast they move. It's amazing. And then they get, I hate to say it, but then they get used to it. Okay, this is the new paradigm, and we're not messing around because we need the money.
Okay, how do we get the prices down in Florida? Because I really want to move there. Every time I take my wife there, she's all, I want to move here, I want to move here. But these prices are ridiculous, Richard.
Well, it's because Florida, and honestly, Governor DeSantis has been fantastic. But before that, we had Governor Rick Scott. Before that, we had Governor Rick Scott led the charge on universities and lowering the cost that took us to the top in universities. Before that, we had Governor Bush, who ushered in the whole school choice movement before anyone in the country knew what it was. I mean, there's just been great leadership in the state of Florida, and now as the leadership in these other places goes from bad to crazy to insane. People are moving with their feet. They move. You see it all the time in taxation. But now you see it in ideology. And you certainly saw it with COVID. Where can we go to a beach? Where can we go to a restaurant? Where can we open up a business and not have to be masked and not have to be shut down? Florida led the nation under that. Under Governor DeSantis' leadership. And so but that's my long way of saying, Jesse, I don't think prices are going down anytime soon.
Dang it. Richard, I appreciate it. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.